If I have to do this, based on stereotypes that are totally untrue, that I do not agree with, you would maybe not be a very good driver.
Oh man, am I a woman?
Diversity, inclusion, representation, constipation. These words normally refer to the active process of reducing the number of straight white men with minority groups like black people, LGBT+, and strong women. Is that bad? When it comes to the entertainment industry, does anyone have an issue with a black guy playing a superhero or a woman taking the leading role? No. No one cares. No one has an issue with diversity, but using superficial traits like skin color or sex isn't how most people identify with each other anyway, but rather through a person's character, through their struggles and their victories, through their story. That's how we connect with one another. Inclusivity on the surface level is fine and dandy and something we'd all agree on, but problems arise whenever it's forced. Forced diversity, forced inclusion, and forced representation, also forced constipation, is the main problem, and there are 3 reasons why it all leads to death. I'll be using these 3 terms interchangeably as they all amount to the same bullcrap and only concerning the entertainment industry. Also, if you'd subscribe, that'd be freaking great. So first, diversity is the death of creativity. Imagine telling an artist what colors he has to use to paint with, or walking into a Chinese restaurant and demanding they make you a beefy 5-layer burrito. Ugh, Taco Bell is so freaking good. My point is that most art has to go through a checklist of representation, where everything has to represent everyone, making everything the same. It leaves no room for uniqueness. Most directors and actors aren't creatives, but activists, pushing agendas that are prioritized over storytelling and character development. Most movies and TV shows nowadays are adaptations and remakes of things done better in the past, making it even more insulting when an existing fan base has to watch their beloved IP go down in flames for no other reason than to push some douchebag's propaganda. Real art is thought-provoking and can be controversial. It doesn't condemn those viewing it as racist or sexist just because we may not line up with an artist's ideological worldview. Creatives need freedom to create, and being shackled with fear from the social justice mob only serves to destroy and kill something that could have been truly amazing. Secondly, forced inclusivity is the death of equality. I love watching anime, and one of my favorites is My Hero Academia, which is basically X-Men in Japan. Without giving away too many spoilers, there's a scene in the 2nd season where 2 main characters fight a one-on-one battle at the school tournament using their superpowers. The first one is Bakugo, who is very aggressive, confrontational, and arrogant. He has the ability to shoot explosions from his hand. The second is Uraraka, who is kind, gentle, and meek, and has the ability to make things that she touches float. Once the battle starts off, Bakugo goes all out, blasting her and the entire arena they're fighting in. After a while, many of the heroes in the stands start to shout things out you might hear from Hollywood today. "She's just a girl! Stop acting like a bully and end this fight!" However, their teacher steps in and condemns the crowd, explaining that Bakugo's fierceness is an acknowledgement of his opponent's strength. She deserves to be treated like an equal, and so he doesn't hold back in spite of the fact that she's just a girl. The sermon of representation is being preached from Hollywood because they don't see women and people of color as equals. They demand minorities be treated with kid gloves and cast actors according to their appearance or gender instead of their acting talent or whether they're the best person for the job. The only legitimacy that they see is in already established white characters, and so they race and gender swap them in order to cater to whatever group is currently trending on Twitter. It's pandering and insulting and shuts down any progress toward true equality. Finally, forced representation is the death of identity. Whenever I hear of diversity, it seems to always be about being able to identify with that character on screen, to be able to see yourself in a role and feel represented. We identify with people's character and their stories, not by looking the way they do or having the same sexual practices as them. I identify with Momo from My Hero Academia, not because she's got giant balloon boobs, but because I've also lacked confidence at times in my life, and I've fought to overcome it the same as her. There's many ways we can identify with characters in movies, TV shows, books, and other forms of art, but doing so based off traits like skin color, gender, or sexual preferences is the most shallow among them. But even more importantly than any of that, I think so many people today are desperate to see themselves represented on screen because they're looking for an image to follow, a role model they can identify with. Call me old-fashioned, but that role model, it's meant to be your dad. Your father is your hero, your role model, your representation, not some fictional character on a TV screen. Maybe you're like me and you didn't really have that. Growing up, my dad was crap, and it made me want to turn to Hollywood, to the superheroes and movies for an example to follow. But just because some of us had to experience that, it doesn't mean that should be the new standard. Entertainment can inspire us, teach us lessons, and bring us together through the stories told in it. But it can't define our identity. That happens through life, a life that starts in the home. Hollywood villainizes fathers every chance it gets, but there wouldn't be generations of men and women screaming for diversity if more dads stuck around to be the hero they needed. Forced diversity, forced inclusion, and forced representation is the death of creativity, equality, and individuality. Anyways guys, thanks so much for watching and have a great freaking day.